The best decision I made in the garden last year was to plant a tea garden. So we're planting another tea garden this year. It's probably my most exciting garden project that we do every year. I don't know, there's something about it that is just so rewarding, and I saw so many benefits from growing a tea garden last year outside of just having plants to use to make tea. I'm a person who, as much as I love the taste of coffee, it gives me major anxiety attacks. Combined with the fact that I deal with a lot of autoimmune conditions, I just got really into herbalism a few years ago. I got really into just kind of using plants as a part of my wellness routine. Still very pro-science. Don't want to leave that up to question. I would not be able to stand and walk and move around without my biologic injectable medication. But plants have just allowed me to feel some sense of empowerment over a situation where I really don't have a lot of control, right? Like, it allows me to connect with nature, but it also allows me to make myself feel better, even if it's just at least temporarily. So growing the tea garden last year was great for that, because it was just this really beautiful routine that I was able to fall into of pulling tea fresh from the garden and also preserving it, drying it for getting through the winter months, which was so nice to have. So we're doing it again this year. I'm not changing a ton from what we did last year, but there are some small tweaks that we'll be making just based on some observations I made last year. The whole idea of the tea garden was inspired by these garden beds, and I'll show you what I mean. So these are cedar beds. I will link them down in the description if you want to grab some of your own. But they were designed with this amazing ledge, and I noticed that ledge was perfect for putting my garden beverage on. So of course it was just like a full circle thing. Like, I have to grow tea in the beds that I can actually enjoy that tea in. You know what I mean? So it made the space feel a lot more intentional, and it was just a really fun experience. But outside of the health benefits and the mental health benefits, there was something else that I did not fully anticipate being as successful as it was about the tea garden. A lot of the plants that we can grow for tea also happen to be incredible companion plants. And if you know anything about me, companion planting is one of my main strategies for reducing pests and diseases in my garden, keeping things really low maintenance. So by growing a lot of these plants that are just really naturally good at repelling pests or attracting them as a trap crop, or even attracting beneficial pollinators, it ended up being sort of the center of my garden in a way that it pulled in all these good bugs, it repelled all these bad bugs, which made everything else in other parts of my garden grow better. As if you needed another reason to grow a tea garden. One of the other things that's been really cool is it's surprising how many plants you can grow for tea. Even flowers like French marigolds can be used to make tea. So I'm going to go through what we're going to be planting this year in the tea garden. I have some really special additions and some old favorites that we'll be adding. Of course, one of my absolute favorites and the most controversial is hibiscus. So every time I say that hibiscus is edible for tea, I get corrected and told that roselle is the version that is edible and used for tea. Roselle is used for tea, and it's great for tea, but all hibiscus is generally considered to be edible at your own risk. So a lot of hibiscus varieties are hybrids. They have not been individually tested to make sure that they are edible. I've never had a problem with hibiscus not being edible, and hibiscus tea is one of the most refreshing things you can have in the summer. It's so good. It's color changing. It comes up with these beautiful, vibrant hues. So last year I did a really beautiful hot pink one, and this year we're doing this bright, vibrant red. And it's going to be the centerpiece, honestly. I did it in the middll bed last year, but we're actually going to do it in the front bed this year. I have 3 of these cedar beds. They're about 2 feet wide by 4 feet long. And the way that I like to plant everything out, we'll get into the spacing of everything and how I like to lay everything out, but I do tend to have one centerpiece in the middle, and the hibiscus is definitely that for our front bed. And then in our second bed, we have my other favorite, which is lemon verbena. Don't let this tiny little plant fool you. It's gonna get enormous. Last year was huge. It smells so good. It's like the best, most refreshing natural perfume you can imagine. When I tell you, every time I walk by this plant in the garden, I was literally hugging it just to get the scent on me. It was amazing to have. I missed it all winter. I'm so excited to have it again this summer. One plant that I'm not doing this year, but I did last year with good success, is stevia. I just don't find myself reaching for it very often, so I decided not to replant it this year because it's a pretty big plant. But if you grab the tea list of all the plants you can grow for a tea garden down in the description, that's on there, and a bunch of other ones that I'm not going to list today because I'm just not growing them in this specific garden. I already kind of alluded to this, but your French marigolds, they are edible and can be used in tea. Kind of stinky. I'm not going to say all of these taste really good in tea, but they all have health benefits and are really good for you. So even with that in mind, like, it's still worth growing in my opinion. Just make sure they're French marigolds, not African marigolds. Usually they will say on the label. We're also going to be doing for seeds a lot of calendula. Calendula is a big one that I love to grow medicinally and dry. It's super productive, super easy to grow, and it's just a great beginner plant if you're kind of uncomfortable with herbalism and it's new to you. That's a great starting point. I already have chamomile planted in those beds, so those aren't technically part of the tea garden, but they're tea garden adjacent, so the chamomile went in there. I do have some more transplants that we're doing, but for seeds, the other seeds that I have are some Alaska variegated nasturtium. Last year I did purple emperor, which I was so excited about because it's kind of hard to find. Purple emperor is really beautiful. I did not find that the blooms were as prolific or consistent as Alaska variegated, so we're focusing back on my favorite and just doing the Alaska variegated this year. We're also trying some multi-hued yarrow from Hudson Valley Seed Co. This is a new one for me. I don't really know how it's going to do. I maybe should have started it indoors a while ago, so it may not have enough time to mature here. And then last year I really wanted this one and I couldn't find it anywhere. I don't know why, it was just eluding me, and I mentioned it, and one of you guys actually sent me some seeds from your own garden. So I'm doing anise hyssop this year. The flowers are blue on this one. So excited to finally add this one to the garden. And then for the rest of the transplants, this third bed back here is more of a savory tea garden. Some of you will think this is kind of a stretch because really it's more of an herb garden, but I consider it part of the tea garden because all of the herbs are medicinal in some way. So I am doing some dill in this bed. I have some oregano. Greek oregano is my favorite to grow. I'm also doing some Grasso lavender. This is a new variety for me. I just asked my mom to pick up like whatever lavender she thought was interesting at the store, and that's what we ended up with. And this is a Bergarten sage. So we'll see how that does. Again, not a variety I'm super familiar with yet. Clearly these beds already have some other things going on in them. So I do pansies and violas in these beds, and they'll last another month or so. Those are also edible for tea. I also have a chive plant here that we'll be putting in, and there's just some arugula in here, honestly, that we're just gonna work around for now because it won't be in here much longer. Neither will this kale. It's already kind of bolting. So let me actually pull that out today, depending on if it's in our way or not. There's another one over here too, and a whole bunch more arugula and pansies. And then in this front bed, I actually did some butter crunch lettuce. That was just to kind of maximize the space when it was too early for me to be planting any tea garden stuff in here. I wanted to add a blanket flower to these beds this year. I couldn't find any, but I do have some snapdragons that I actually started in a milk jug over the winter, so we'll probably move some of those into the beds. Those are edible too. Okay, but I can't wait any longer to get this guy into the garden. I've been so excited to plant this one and let it kind of be our vibrant color, our first vibrant color in the garden. So as with all of my beds, when I'm doing both direct sowing and transplants, I like to make sure that I start with my transplants. This one's pretty dry right now. I want to make sure to give this some water right away. And my roots are just circling a little bit at the bottom. This was a 6-inch pot, but I'm just gonna lightly loosen it before I dig in my hole. I did amend these beds already with about 3 inches of fresh compost and some granular plant food. And that's pretty much what I will do for all of my raised beds every year. Okay, so for the rest of the transplants, I made an executive decision to change a couple things and not just have all the savory herbs in one bed because I want to mix it up a little bit. So I'm actually going to do the chives right here in this corner. I guess I just want you to see how unserious this has to be. So a lot of times my herbs from the garden center come in these coco coir pots and they can get kind of root bound. and I have to like cut them out. Chives are a really good one you can divide pretty easily. I'm not going to divide this one right now because it is about to bloom. It has a lot of blooms on it. I prefer to divide when things are a little bit more dormant. I'm thinking in terms of my primary, secondary, and accent plants, which is a big strategy for me when I'm spacing things out in the garden. Like, I know the hibiscus is the largest thing in this bed. I put it in the center. Chives can get pretty big too, so I consider that like a secondary plant. And the same with this dill, which actually I think is a whole bunch of plants. So hopefully we can get that separated. And that's it for transplants in this bed. So because I'd like to leave this lettuce a little bit longer, I'm gonna work around it. I'm just gently loosening the soil because along this front edge, I'm gonna do my calendula. And this is more of a design decision than anything else. I think it's gonna look really pretty facing this outside edge. And calendula is pretty much a wildflower. It self-sows really easily, so we really just need to press it into the surface here all around the lettuce. And by the time the lettuce comes out, the calendula will be filling it. And then this is a less commonly known thing, but some varieties, double check yours, of Cosmos are also edible. So I'm gonna be doing this sunny mix. I've been looking for yellow, orange, and red Cosmos for so long. So I was so excited. And then I'm gonna pick out some of these snapdragons to put in the middle just to fill in the empty spaces. I think these are the Renaissance ones from Hudson Valley Seed Co. I honestly don't know. I'll do a few over here as well. Snapdragons are one of my favorite flowers by far. And yet I still don't have my snapdragon tattoo. That's been a long time coming. Right, I think that's everything we're gonna do in the first bed. This bed will have our lemon verbena right in the center. Seriously, if you just get one plant that I'm talking about planting today, it should be this one. And that will go right in the center again. I can already smell it. I'm gonna do some French marigolds in this bed as well. Let's do 4, 2 on either end. This bed will also get the sage plant. So the lemon verbena is gonna get pretty big and this arugula won't be here much longer, so I'm gonna go toward the edge with this. And I kind of just want to load this bed up with nasturtiums. I think I'm gonna do like both the long edges. See how many I have. Ooh, not that many. These seeds are so funky looking. So these go about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch deep. I always like it when it gives a big range like that because I feel like it's more forgiving. Okay, I think we're gonna have to make some tea because I'm getting too excited not to. So we're gonna brew something up after this. But I'm gonna get the lavender planted in the center of this bed because it could get pretty big. I have to check if this is even a variety that will overwinter in my zone though, because a lot of the times they're Mediterranean, they don't like it here. If you want a variety that will definitely overwinter, Munstead is what I usually grow. And then we'll put an oregano in this corner. See, this is like nice and loose. The other one was so bad. I like to do the oregano in the corner because then it can kind of trail down the edge. So I just checked the yarrow. It takes 120 to 130 days to mature. Our growing season is 150 days. I definitely should have done this as a transplant. So yarrow does require light for germination, so you don't want to bury it at all, just press it into the surface of the soil. And you'll get a hint to that because it is so small. And we'll pop a few more snapdragons into this bed. I just have some clearance marigolds again that are a little droopy, but they'll fall right in. So we're gonna make a hibiscus tea, but I'm gonna grab some stuff from the apothecary just to fill it out. So I'm gonna do some rose petals and also some chamomile. As much as it pains me, I'm gonna pull this for our tea. I do have a tea blending video if that's of interest to you in terms of ratios, because everyone's always asking me, what ratio do you use? To be honest, most of the time I just measure with my heart. So we'll start with our rose. For 1 cup of tea, you only need about a teaspoon of dried leaves. And our hibiscus, which we'll just use the petals. For herbal tea, you really don't need the water very hot. I did like 155, you can do like 180. And the color is not going to be as strong with fresh herbs either. We're going to pour into our cat mug. I'm going to water all these plants in. I hope this was helpful. If you want to see future videos like this one, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and grab that full list of all the plants you can use in a tea garden down in the description. I'll see you next time. Thanks for gardening with me.